It was Creedence Clearwater before that. Casey and JoJo. I had somebody sing Casey and JoJo to me once. A while ago. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys that card story for the moon at the end of the reading here. I just want to talk about bindings, right? Because it's been coming up a lot lately. One of the number one requests for spell work that I get is, can you help me come up with something for breaking binding spells? Because a lot of people made a very big mistake of using candles as binding magic. And the dangers of using a candle or candles and binding them together and doing a binding spell in that sense is once the candles are burnt, it's really hard to break that binding at that point, right? I prefer to use poppets if you're going to be going into that. And you should always put back doors in all your magic. You should always have an out clause in your magic. You know? It is really important. People are so quick to just wish for stuff. Wildness. Are so quick to just wish for stuff, right? Without really thinking about what the ramifications of getting your wish would be. Also, it's just rude. Bindings, especially when the other person does. See, now, there are bindings where you did the ritual with a person in some sort of like spiritual hand fasting or something like that. And even in a hand fastings are not meant to be lifelong contracts. They can be, but they're supposed to be renewed. Hand fastings start out with first you promise for 1 year. Then you do a ritual to prom. After 1 year, you could re-up for 7 years. And then it's 7 years from then on. But a lot of people don't take it into that sense. A lot of people take it as the till death do us part thing. And till death do you part was great when, you know, people only lived to be 30. And that was another reason in the traditions that started hand fasting, they did the 1 year and then every 7 years. And usually it had a lot to do with, you know, people died all the time. But when it comes to bindings, there's only, when you cut cords, there's really only thing that's going to hold you back is, depending on how strong you cast it, is your ability to keep the cord cut. And I say this all the time, especially in the era of the cell phone, right? You cannot cut cords with somebody and still stalk their social media accounts. If you're going to cut the cord, you have to 110% cut the cord. You can't focus on that person anymore. So I tell people all the time, you cannot do a cord cutting if you are still in the house with the person, right? If you're still going to see them, you can bind them. You can bind the energy between y'all to try to calm it down and things like that, like try to control it, jar it, things of that nature. But you can't fully cut it. You can't fully cut it unless you can fully cut contact. And even then, depending on what you did, is difficult. See, now if you used poppets, it wouldn't be so bad, because the poppets, you can just go back into the box and take the poppets out, and then you can slowly do the process of pulling them apart. I don't know. I've only actually ever done one. I guess you can kind of say it was a binding. It had, it was a jar. It had a fairy on the top of it. and I made it. It had my daughter's hair, my hair, my husband's at times hair, and my first husband, my kid's father, and some other things in the jar, you know, pertaining to us and protection and for the fae. And it had a fairy on the top of the jar, and it held pretty tight until we got divorced, and then the fairy started falling apart. First, one of her wings fell off, things of that nature. The jar started to crack, it fell apart, you know, and then finally it degraded. I got a bunch of stuff with just my kids and protection spells. Just my kids and me now. That's one bond you can't break. There's no cord cutting for that. Especially for mothers. All right, so for the collective, let's see what we got going for you guys, right? For the collective on the 3D, you got laziness starting out right now, right? Indolence, right? Procrastination, right? Because immediately after that, you have the King of Wands, Ace of Wands, Four of Wands, and a Tower. And we just went from 1 to 2, so I'm going to do it again, right? For the collective energy, we have laziness, an inability to walk away from something you should be walking away from, and walking towards what you're supposed to be walking towards. Right after, we have the King of Passion, right? Lots and lots and lots of passion, right? And this guy's not sitting on his butt. He's jumping over that wall of flames that popped up in those readings yesterday, right? Right? Four of Wands. I've heard people call the Four of Wands the 1111 doorway card, right? But in this one, it talks about it is the completion of an old cycle, right? And if you think about it in a relationship sense, right, there's always, before you can really bond with your partner, you have to get through that phase of where you guys were faking it for the first part, right? When you were like, everybody was presenting themselves as greater than what they were. There's a completion of this cycle here with them. Right? So it's almost like I get the sense that someone really wants to make a huge, huge shift, but they're just avoiding the Tower, right? Which there's always two types of people in the world. There's always the group that likes to run up and just like, you know, when you feel the foundation starting to quake, you just can't handle that energy and you'll just run up and just knock the Tower over. You just screw it. What? Just I call it like flipping the Monopoly board, right? You know, those type of people who get real intense playing games. They realize they're going to lose. My sister. She's a Pisces, man. She's fun to play games with. Super competitive. On the 3D, right over that Eidolence card, what? 3 of Swords. Just torture-esque, what? All these things, all these different timelines laid out before you. And you see them all, right? You see them all, but you know that some of them are just illusions and fantasies, right? You want something that you can genuinely plant in a reality, right? Something that helps you build your skills, right? something that helps you build your skills. And then what happens right at the end? You just know if you deviate from the path you're on now, it's going to cause nothing but massive conflict. And that's the torture of it, right? You know you want to be out of this, but you don't want to go through this either. This card always messes me up. That person looks very familiar. To me, anyway. I've always had friends that were into weird hats and stuff like that. All right, on the 5D, what does the 5D have to say about what you need to walk away from and your 3 of Swords and all that jazz? What? You want a new cycle. You got to take a leap for the new cycle, right? Over the King of Swords, over the King of Wands, King of Swords, right? Don't be a King of Wands about it. Don't channel fire sign energy, channel air sign energy, right? Be calm, cool, collected. Think about what you're doing. Actually calculate what you would say if you said something. I always say that too, and that's why I try to say leave it open. People get so set on this, you can manifest your own reality, right? And then they pick like this one thing, solid thing, and then they just all detailed into that, right? And you give the universe no room to work with anything. And these are the people that end up locked into timelines that they're like, oh, I don't really like this. And it's like, yeah, well, you didn't let the universe do anything artistic for you. You logically formatted it down to a scientific algorithm, and now you're miserable and bored with it. You gotta, when you're envisioning timelines, you gotta constantly do it both ways. If you were to do the leap and do the shift, what would happen with this person? Best case scenario and worst case scenario, and run it in between. There'll be times where you'll go through visualizations. You're supposed to be able to go through it, right? If you know the person well enough, people well enough that you're dealing with, which you should. If you genuinely have soul connections with them, you should know them well enough to be able to kind of predict their own patterns, right? Sorry, I was getting into all that because I was also looking at the Judgment card, right? Honest and clear judgment. We've been talking about this too. It's about, giving praise to those who deserve it, not those who do not deserve it, right? And focusing on those who deserve praise, right? And not those that don't deserve praise. You'll see it in a lot of readings across the internet, right? People are constantly stalking people they're mad at. Right? We call it hater energy. And it doesn't matter for people who work on social media and stuff like that. Hater energy doesn't affect the person, doesn't affect this person. If one of these people doesn't like that, it doesn't affect them as much, right? But unless they allow it. But a lot of people are doing that just in their basic lives. Stop looking at things that hurt you. Start looking at things that bring you joy. Stop stalking your exes on Facebook. Start stalking your nieces and nephews and grandkids and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Switch your focus away from things that are bringing you pain, for sure. And really focus on those who deserve the praise around you, right? Right? And I definitely get you need to send those messages, right? Whatever kind of connection you're dealing with, you need to send those messages. Now, here's the thing. You need to send those messages, but it does say, do protect your finances. Okay? Do protect your finances, right? You want to make sure that whatever decisions you make, you do logically think them out, that they're not detrimental. It's okay to be giving and generous, but do never give until it's a detriment to you, right? That's really the only way. That's the one thing it's saying about that Tower and all that conflict energy. It's just protect your finances, right? And if people need money from you in order to have some sort of connection from you, then is this a genuine connection? You got to always be asking yourself logical questions about things like this. People use spiritual terms and stuff to manipulate people all the time, right? To manipulate them. Why? Because they can never be fulfilled on their own. They need you to fear and worship them, right? These people actually love that hater energy. Like, that's their gig, right? They love that hater energy. Oh, and I've said it too. I love the way you hate me when I trigger people like a flat earth and stuff like that, But this is a different type of energy. This person, even the people they love that are giving them love constantly, they still treat them terrible. And they know that these people go and they're telling everybody else, but they don't care. They love the fact that people are still talking about them, right? Watch out for those people. Watch out for those people, right? Those are the people that we're all seeking this healing from. Because the trick is you got to watch out for them without watching them and hating on them. Right? Don't give the cords your power, right? Got this wildness card here. Right? Definitely getting that energy from this Mercury, right? So happy it's finally just going in a direction. That slowdown kills me. All right. I got this one last story card here. We got the moon, right? With the 8 of hearts, right? 8 of cups there. 32, number 5. And the little story that goes along here, it's playing card, 8 of hearts. Reoccurring events, cycles, awards, and public acclaim are the keywords. Here is the moon spotlighting Cinderella's coach in the Little Slipper story. Cinderella has been seen more than once by the prince to make a deep impression. When you see this card, remember that public acclaim may be close at hand. Like Cinderella, you may be noticed. Of course, she was noticed for her beauty. Your awards may come from other things. The moon shines on cycles as well. Stick to the plan to reap the applause. If you are looking at this card in terms of a business venture, the promotion is a necessity. Her fairy godmother had to dress up Cinderella so that she would be noticed. Pay attention also to things that happen more than once. This could be the moon pointing to something important that you need to know. What lies near the moon may be things that deserve praise from you. Don't overlook the power of the moon in showing you where you can improve yourself so that you can garner more attention. There's a lot going on here about giving praise and giving notice and giving, giving praise to those who deserve it around you, right? And in giving praise to those who deserve it around you, you open up the frequency to blah, 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 blah. Receive praise from those around you, right? Got to give to receive. Alrighty, y'all. That's all the time I got for this morning. Blessed be all those who walk these weird and winding paths with me, as always. Buttons, bells. Love you guys. I'm back as soon as I can, I promise.